Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome everyone to the Retro Video Store Podcast. I'm your host Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host Neil.
I'm Neil. And who with his fucked up shoulder is not with us today?
That would be David. He's teaching firefighters out in the South. In the dirty South.
Well, Dave's out there. It is now for sure, 100%.
He's hitting all the strip clubs, making it rain.
Finding all the lot lizards while he's driving.
Yeah.
Good times with Dave.
Yep. But we're doing good. We were kind of having a depressing conversation before we started. We pressed play.
We were talking about some severely adult things.
I know. And then we're like, wow. Hey, let's record a podcast.
Let's
hit play. We had to hit record and go, all right, let's take all those negative emotions we were just talking about and push them out and record a podcast. So,
hey, everybody. How you doing out there?
Hey, first caller. It's going to be September. No, we were talking about adult stuff as you get older and adult things happen. But here we are. We're not here to bring you down. We're here to spend an hour talking about a movie. And the movie we picked this week is the second movie of Fantasy February. We're talking about Dragonslayer from 1981. Which was good.
Good ass movie, man.
Good movie. Yeah. I barely had any memory of the movie other than the dragon looked cool and that the girl was disguised as a boy at the beginning of the movie. That was the only things I remembered about the movie at all. And then when I watched it, I had to rent it and I was taking notes and watching it and was like, this is pretty good. Pretty good movie.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Nice slow burn. Mm-hmm. I'll say it a third time. Nice slow burn.
Yes.
A lot like my movements after spicy food.
So before we talk about Dragonslayer, we're going to do what we always do. Neil, what did you watch this week?
All right. I've got a preface for this. It's going to take a second. All right. 1977, 5 years old. I got in line with my parents and I watched Star Wars, A New Hope, on the day of its release. That movie rocked my fucking world. As you well know, considering the amount of Millennium Falcons around my house, because I embrace that part of my nerdism.
Yeah.
My mom and dad got me, because this is what you did when we were kids. They got me an activity book. Remember those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So they got me a Star Wars activity book, and you could cut out and make X-Wings out of paper. Mm-hmm. You could color. I was down. And in the book, after like a maze, was this recipe for these cookies, which to this day is still my favorite cookie, called Luke Skywalker Scrunchies.
Okay.
You can Google it. People have posted like the original recipe from the book, like Xeroxed it and posted it online. You can find it online. It's basically a butter cookie with cornflakes in it. It's pretty darn good.
Interesting.
So, I had some intense personal shit go on. And so my wife was like, okay, the husband's sad. I'm going to make him something that really kind of cheers him up. So she made me the Luke Skywalker Scrunchies. And as she's making them, she's explaining to my son, like, your dad's been having kind of a rough week, blah, 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 making these cookies. They're Luke Skywalker Scrunchies. And he goes, Luke Skywalker, like Star Wars? Like, yes. And so then he goes, well, he asked me about it. So I tell him, well, let's all sit down and watch it.
Okay, nice.
That's what I watched this week. I don't give a fuck what else I watched. I sat down with my two favorite people. My third's all the way in fucking Colorado, you piece of shit. And and we watched Star Wars, and I ate an obscene amount of sugar and carbohydrates.
Nice.
So Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. I started watching
just Star Wars, which we knew it as.
It was just Star Wars. I just say A New Hope. The only thing that pissed me off is the version that we were watching was the newly edited one with all the extra CGI shit. Mm-hmm. So I just sat there and I pointed out, like, that's new, that's new, that's new. That wasn't the original. That's new, that's new, that's new. And then, just doing it for my own sake because, I wanted the pure experience of Star Wars.
Didn't Jabba look bad? The CGI for Jabba in the
what was really
special
piss poor?
editions?
Yeah, the effect for Han walking over his tail was so choppy and blurry. It was like the light and the tone didn't match.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they made them like hyper detailed, which is something that you wouldn't have had in a film in 1977. They didn't even try to match like a film grain. Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. And Greedo shooting first instead of Han shooting Greedo and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Just
that's why we liked Han. That's why he like, boom, fuck you.
He was a badass. He could kill you. That was, you didn't know what the fuck this guy was doing. He didn't, he was a wild card. You didn't know what the hell he was going to do.
Yeah.
You just saw him shoot an alien in cold blood.
Little something for little something for the mess. Throw it down.
When you talk about all the Star Wars stuff, as I had as a kid, I used to have, I had the activity book. I had the Star Wars Play-Doh where you could like put, you would make your stormtroopers with the white Play-Doh.
Did you remember the Escape the Death Star game?
Oh yeah.
God, I love that game. So good.
Greatest Christmas present I've ever received was my Death Star playset. That was awesome. I still remember the foam pieces that you would put in the trash compactor, and they had the little trash compactor monster in there.
Here's the thing that as I was thinking about this before we went, there were I was a huge science fiction fan. There were a lot of science fiction shows I watched and a lot of things, Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica, of course, all the Star Wars when we were kids. But as I'm going back and I'm reflecting on it, I only ever had the bad guys.
Yeah, I had a lot of bad guys too.
I had tons of bad guys. I would have TIE fighters. I'd have all the evil aliens and stuff. Never had the good guys. I was never interested in having like Luke. I did have Han and Chewie. And I had R2-D2.
I had the giant. Remember the 12-inch action figure Darth Vader. And you had the cool lightsaber that looked like a Jolly Rancher. That you would that you hold on to. I had so much Darth Vader stuff. It was not funny. I had the Darth Vader iron-on shirt. Yeah. I had Darth Vader. You remember the little inflatable punching bags you used to get? Darth Vader punching bag.
I had an R2-D2 one, and it had the sand kind of like in the bottom of it.
Yeah, in the bottom.
How great? Well, how great was it for us? But I feel so sad for these kids. They've got a spot in the mall that when we walk by it, where remember we used to have all these kick-ass iron-ons that you could get.
Yes,
all these guys have are like cookies, Kappa Kappa, the girl from the Mud Flap thing, or Fortnite, and they're all black and like this place that is in our mall. It's all black and white. Dude, remember that? Do you remember that light blue shirt I had with that big fucking giant Superman symbol on it?
Yeah.
That thing was amazing.
I had a blue shirt with the Darth Vader iron on, and it had like the little glitter inside the frame of Darth Vader. It was just, I love that.
You kind of had outgrown it by the time I met you, but you did show that.
I still wore it, senior year,
just standing around, picking his belly button,
hanging out. Yeah.
So great. So anyway, that was the most important thing that I watched. Tell us why we're recording on a Monday instead of a Sunday, Eric.
Well, we should have recorded yesterday because the Super Bowl sucked. We were pushing back our normal recording day to Monday because I was like, the Super Bowl's on. Let's record it on Monday. And the Super Bowl was like 3 hours of my life I'll never get back. It was a very non-competitive game. And, it makes me depressed for the next 6 months until football starts again, that it ended on such a wet fart of a moment where it was, a lot of people are glad the Eagles won and they totally outplayed the Chiefs and stuff like that, but it was just non-competitive. It was really the Eagles dominated and the Chiefs looked like shit, and it just wasn't a fun game at all. So yeah,
I heard the halftime show was good at least.
Yeah, I actually watched the halftime show, and Andrew watched the halftime show with me, and I wasn't, I actually paid attention. It wasn't bad. It's usually they're so over the top, and there's like 50 guest stars, and they just keep jumping to different songs. They just say whatever, and I'm getting old. I don't really know who is that person. I don't know who they are.
Who's this?
Who are these people? Yeah. So, but I didn't mind it. Kendrick Lamar did good. I think it was good that they just basically, it was him performing, maybe one or two guest stars. It wasn't that, the stage show. The show was pretty good, and yeah, it wasn't too bad. So, as a 51-year-old male, I will say I didn't mind it. So, there you go. I didn't watch any movies this week. Except for Dragonslayer. I watched a 6-hour documentary on Generation X. It's on Hulu and on Disney Plus. And after I finished watching it, I realized it sucked. It just didn't tell me anything new. I didn't know already. And it just kind of like, I don't know. I didn't feel like it really represented Gen X that well. Yeah, we're latchkey kids. Yeah, we're the first part of the information age. Grunge was big, and just, Cold War, all the shit that you expect to be in there. So
drinking out of water hoses, neglect, shit like that.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So yeah. Okay. Children of divorce, and just all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Typical stuff.
Certain bitterness of that last statement, man. I mean,
children of divorce. Goddamn.
I know we were trying to work through some stuff before the beginning, but still,
we're still working it out now. So yes.
And then you got to work.
I will remember last week when I mentioned listener Jessica, who's a new friend of mine.
Yeah,
she listened to the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers podcast, and she had commented about us commenting on Miranda Otto's teeth. Eowyn's teeth, and you commenting on Liv Tyler's overbite. And she said, she's like, I'm surprised both you guys are married, is what she said.
Well, here's the thing, Jessica. I'm a fucking catch.
So am I.
I'm a great guy. I'm caring. I'm thoughtful. I don't mind cooking and cleaning. I love to organize too. So Jessica, boom.
She made me laugh though, because it's, first of all, I don't think many women listen to us. So Jamie, my wife, she listens to us. So, and she just kind of rolls her eyes.
Poor women. You know what?
Yeah.
Send me a picture of Jessica's teeth. I got to take care of the situation right now.
Yeah. So, but maybe we're insensitive. I don't know.
Well, you're kind of a prick, but I'm wonderful.
I wasn't thinking about it, but
yeah.
I did. Sorry, Miranda Otto, on your baby teeth.
Little tiny nubs too. They're just little nubs.
What was that?
But you know what? I would take. You know what? Okay. So there's two things that always strike me as weird, and it reminds me of Austin Powers. We're like, don't mention the mole. Mole. But when someone's got little nub teeth, or when they smile and it's all gums.
Yeah,
it comes up and it's all gums. It's always, you look at that and like, please stop.
I can't remember somebody describing somebody who's got like baked bean teeth.
Baked bean teeth.
His teeth look like baked beans. They did. Now I'm all self-conscious about my teeth, which are, I still have them. So that's
wait for it. Are you ready?
Yeah, you have some nice pearly whites there, Neil.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So.
All mine still.
Yeah, but I guess we are kind of, maybe we're insensitive, but that's part of our gig though. It's like, we just say what we're feeling.
What's our motto?
Yes, 3 idiots, endless opinions.
Endless opinions. Countless opinions.
Countless opinions, yes.
Yes.
So, But that's pretty much all I watched. I didn't really watch anything else except for Dragonslayer. But Dragonslayer does tie in a lot to what we just been talking about around Star Wars. There's obviously Star Wars influence, but the biggest part of it is who did the special effects for Dragonslayer.
Yes, that was going to be the first thing I was going to mention. Damn it. Hit us with that, Mr. Eric.
Yes. Industrial Light and Magic did the special effects along with Phil Tippett.
Yeah.
One of the greatest model making, stop motion people ever. And Dennis Muren, one of the best head of special effects of all time. So this movie is just artisans, the best people out there making this movie, and it freaking shows. It really does. It really does show.
Did you ever see Mad God?
Yes, that was awesome.
Holy crap! That was a
stop motion movie that sent Phil Tippett to the mental hospital while he was making it.
It was just so surreal and crazy. But yeah, the model making. So sometimes the gripe I have now with all the CGI is they just blow their load too quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think they did it great with Smough. How we didn't like you get a tease of the dragon. You maybe get an eyeball. You maybe get some movement. Something gets knocked over, like a little slithery tail. They did not blow their load with the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, what do we get? We got a big claw. We got a tail. We got like a little eyeball. And then when Vermithrax finally decided to come out, like 400 fucking miles an hour, like devastation over these medieval huts, just whoa, so cool.
One thing I really enjoyed is the set design. The set design was really, really cool. And one thing I'm sure we'll discuss is it's like this pre-Christian time where magic was still valid, that magic still existed in the world, and there were still dragons, and the people lived in very meager huts and wore kind of meager clothes and stuff like that. There was no suits of armor and all that kind of courtly love and all those kind of things like that. It was like
what? I really hate what courtly love did to Nirvana.
Yeah, she broke them up.
Sure, Nirvana, getting them all depressed, and then boom, courtly love. But, see what I did there? Because it's not actually courtly love; it's actually Courtney love.
Here we go.
Thank you. I'm pointing it out.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you want to hit us with the Internet Movie Database tagline?
Yes, I do. A young wizarding apprentice, not Harry Potter, is sent to kill a dragon which has been devouring girls from a nearby kingdom. And depending on how you read it, it sounds dirty. A young wizarding apprentice is sent to kill a dragon who's been devouring girls from a nearby kingdom. All right. Just depends how you read it.
May I talk out of my ass for a minute?
Just for a minute?
Just for a minute. Apparently, there's a whole subgenre of books where lovely ladies are dragon riders, and they're having sex with dragons and all sorts of like mythical beasts and things like that.
Okay. Which leads me to the question: how do you know this?
Because I kind of on Instagram, I look at all they have like a book Instagram thing, and they're always making fun of the tropes of these books. Yeah, so I don't know anything. I've never read any of the books or anything like that. So yeah,
wink, wink. Why is your eye twitching like that?
But I am talking out of my ass right now because I don't really know anything about them. So maybe I'm hating on something I don't really know about. But it seems like
whatever you do, Eric, you asshole, do not talk about the dragon's teeth.
Except for he did lose a tooth. Remember?
Leave the poor dragons alone.
So yeah, but apparently there's a big subgenre of like all these, dragons and fairies, and they're just banging away everywhere.
There's some sad nerds out there. At least, I'm a functioning nerd, but I'm not that. Thank God. It's like when you see people wearing elf ears in public. Yeah. What is wrong with you? You know that I really want to look up one of these books and send it to you. You know that.
Well, the number one book right now is this by a woman called Rebecca Yarros. And it's supposed to be like a huge book. Like I said, I'm talking out of my ass. So if I don't know anything about it, but apparently they're very big in there. But there's also another series of book, like I think it's called like a Court of Thorn and Roses, which is all about horny fairies. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like I said, don't know. So I can't really give an opinion on it because I don't really know about it, but I just know that fantasy has changed a lot since 1981 when Dragonslayer came out.
Fantasizing about real specific things here.
Yeah. Neil, when did you see this movie?
When it came out, I went with my mom.
All right. Awesome.
I went with my mom. I remember specifically because my dad was in one of those phases where he didn't want to buy name brand soda. Mm-hmm. And they were in a kick where they didn't want any of us to have caffeine. So we were having Sprite. So we got the Shasta equivalent of that, which I can't remember. And my mom,
It's probably like lemon lime Shasta.
something,
Yeah.
My mom took a slug of it, and she goes, "Oh my God!" Well, I have to say it in my mom's accent. Oh my God! This soda is vermithrax. It goes down in there and it just crawls its way right back up.
Shasta Twist.
There
their lemon lime drink.
Okay. Yeah, we were subject to that for a while until my parents finally decided that we could actually have the regular soda, which tasted a whole lot better.
I do remember distinctly the taste of RC Cola back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when the diet stuff was coming out and Mom was obsessed with Tab.
Yeah, Tab. Ugh.
Yeah.
But do you remember there was RC Cola was like your third option, because there was always Coke, which is always the best.
Mm-hmm.
Pepsi, meh. And then there was RC.
Do you remember that they actually had RC Cola at the 7-Eleven just down from your house? They actually had it on the fountain.
On the fountain, yeah. I do remember that.
What does that say about where we grew up?
I think
how dare they charge this? They charge the same fucking price for a regular Coke and a Pepsi as they did for RC Cola. The RC Cola should have been discounted. If you went and proved you took RC, you should have gotten like 50, 60 cents off.
I went to a conference in San Antonio about 5 years ago, and everywhere you went was Big Red. You get Big Red on tap, or off the
really,
on the yeah.
I haven't seen Big Red in years.
Yeah, it's like the bubblegum soda, but apparently it is very popular in Texas. Big Red.
So weird. Nothing is more disappointing than when you go to a restaurant and they've changed the sodas. There's a great hamburger place that we love to go to. And we went in there and now they've switched to like this weird hippie, all natural soda. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've got a pile of garlic fries and onion rings and a giant ass burger, and I'm getting ready to cholesterol myself up. And I've got nothing to look at to drink other than natural soda. And I thought to myself, this is the nubby teeth of soda machines right here.
Yes, that is that. Don't give me artisanal soda.
I don't want artisanal sodas.
Yeah. I just want big soda, like Coke.
Agreed. I totally agree.
Diet Coke. Coke or Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
I don't even like Pepsi when they say, if you order a mixed drink and they're like, I'll take a rum and Coke. And they're like, oh, we've got Pepsi. I'm like,
Well, then you don't have a sale.
Yeah.
You don't have a sale.
Yeah. It's not the same. Rum and Pepsi. We're way off Dragonslayer here, but.
Yes, we are.
All right. So going back to this, it was directed by Matthew Robbins. He's better known as a screenwriter, but he wrote The Sugarland Express, which is, I think, one of the first Steven Spielberg movies. The Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Motor Kings with Billy D. Williams. Then he wrote MacArthur, and then he directed Corvette Summer with Mark Hamill.
Kind of a real change there from writing MacArthur to going right to Corvette Summer.
Yeah, and then after that he did Dragonslayer, which is a really big left turn. And then after that he did a movie called Warning Sign, which I really liked. It's like a biohazard movie where the lab, the bacteria gets out and it's like a biological weapon. It's got Sam Waterston and Yaphet Kotto, and I just I think it is the movie where they put. I always scare the shit out of me, and I think it's this movie where this guy laces this guy's toothbrush with with germs from the lab, and he brushes his teeth, and then he's driving. Then he's driving around, and he jumps out of the car and literally pukes his guts out.
Yes,
everything pukes out.
Did not remember that until you said that, and then it clicked in. I remember that. Yeah.
It is that sticks in my head. Then he did the Legend of Billie Jean. Fair is fair, Neil. Amazing Stories, Batteries Not Included. So he did quite a few movies, and then the writer had a very interesting career. his name is Hal Barwood. He co-wrote the movie, but he did he did
What's his name again?
Hal Barwood.
Hmm.
Yeah. Sugarland Express.
Sorry, I misheard that. That was Hal something?
Barwood.
Okay.
Wait, where's your pun?
No, nothing.
Okay.
I just having a hard time hearing. I had that surgery over on my ear and on that side of my neck.
Mm.
Yeah. Ear doesn't work so great on that side. Yeah.
But he wrote.
But you know what though? I still have all my teeth.
So he started writing a lot of the original LucasArts video games. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
Dude,
Star Wars Rebel Assault 2. Indiana Jones Desktop Adventures.
Did he have anything to do with TIE Fighter? Because that game was amazing.
No, he didn't have. I was expecting. What's the one where the Day of the Tentacle, and the Curse of Monkey Island, and then X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. All those really amazing LucasArts games that we played on the computer over and over again. X-Wing was one of the best video games for PC I've ever played in my entire life. I spent so much time
cycling those shields, man. Cycling your shields.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Your brain and my brain are connected, because I was going to say you could hit the S button and you could cycle the shields to like full back shields, full forward, or you could switch power from the shields to the engine. And yeah, it was just a fucking cool game.
Yeah, very, very cool.
But that's it. That's a whole connection. All these people were involved with the LucasArts, with Steven Spielberg, ILM, and it's just this tree of all this awesomeness comes from ILM and George Lucas and THX and all that kind of stuff, and American Zoetrope. That's just so much freaking cool shit came out of that.
So totally along the same line, you can get the Star Wars X-Wing Special Edition on Steam.
Oh shit.
Guess what I just purchased for $10 while we were talking. You see, you know what, Dave, I love you, man, and I miss you, but look how I managed to do two things at one time, and I didn't just stare at the fucking football game while we were talking. Okay.
So I play that game so much. And I remember one of the most times I was disappointed with the video game is I played through so much of the campaign that I was getting ready to like finish the campaign. And I usually don't do that on games because I have a very short attention span. So I managed to get to the end, and I'm getting ready to do the final mission, and then I accidentally turn my X-Wing into a Y-Wing in front of me, and then I blow up. And the next scene is them launching my body out into space, and the game is over. I wanted to destroy the home computer. And I did not start play the game for like another 6 months or so because I was so pissed that I had died and just had not, I was done with it.
It's a weird thing because we were both talking about how much we really enjoyed this movie, and we were so happy about talking about it that we've just gone, well, it put us in a better mood. And instead of talking about like all the deep, dark shit we were talking about before, we're now actually having a pretty damn good time.
Yeah, we're having a great time.
But however, Dragonslayer.
Yes.
I'm going to take us back to Dragonslayer. Yeah.
All right.
Because when we go off on tangents like this, that's almost like, I would compare that to having little tiny teeth, or your thumbs are too big.
So, released on June 26th of 1981 and directed by Matthew Robbins, written by Hal Barwood and Matthew Robbins. It was co-produced. Walt Disney and Paramount made this movie together. And this is the second movie that they did together. The movie they did before was Popeye, the Robert Altman, Robin Williams, Shelley Duvall Popeye.
You know what? This controversial hot take, I liked Popeye.
So do I. I liked it now as an adult, but I hated it as a kid.
Well, because you get all the nuance, like what they were trying to do, because it was just like the old cartoons, like with his constant muttering. The sets were fucking great. That town,
the octopus,
it was so good.
Yeah, but I think what bothered me is they did the Robert Altman thing of he has that diegetic sound, so everything is like happening around around it, and people talk over each other. So there's overlapping conversations and other things going on. And to me, as a kid, I'm like, I just want to see Popeye eat spinach and beat the shit out of people. I don't want to see this, whole story about him and his dad, and I just didn't. I didn't really, Ray Walston as his dad. I wasn't ready for it as
Pappy.
a kid. Pappy, yeah. But now as an adult, I can appreciate it. But I didn't as a kid because I was disappointed in it. Except for when he punched the octopus out way the hell up into the up in the sky. But Dragonslayer came out in 1981. 81 was an amazing year for fantasy movies, and I wrote them down at the bottom of the notes. Time Bandits, Excalibur, Clash the Titans, Heavy Metal, and Dragonslayer all came out in 1981.
Good damn year.
Hell yeah. Time Bandits is amazing. Excalibur, which we've talked about, is great. Clash the Titans is fucking amazing. And Heavy Metal is a life-changing movie for horny young boys.
Bathe her and bring her to me.
Yeah, so 81 that's one of those banner years as a kid of watching the movies, and I was only 8 years old, but I remember seeing every damn one of those movies. And I must admit that Dragonslayer was probably the forgotten one to me, that I didn't really remember it as much, just because I maybe just saw it once on a rental, but I didn't really remember. I just remember seeing thinking the dragon was really cool.
Vermithrax pejorative.
Yes, pretty damn cool name for a dragon. Yeah. So I decided to do the notes in ChatGPT just because I was running short, and actually ChatGPT is learning because the notes through ChatGPT are much better this time.
Okay. Yeah, I was going through and looking at it.
Mm-hmm. It gave us key themes: coming of age. Galen's journey is not only a physical quest to slay the dragon, but a personal evolution. He begins as a naive apprentice and grows into a capable young hero. Really? I guess he's capable enough.
Well, he realizes that he might have some ability. What do we got? Sacrifice and destiny. A major theme in the film is the concept of sacrifice, both in terms of the sacrifices made by the people of the kingdom and Galen, his eventual personal sacrifice, and his willingness to deal with tiny nubby teeth.
Magic and the occult. The film presents a world where magic is fading and sorcery is considered an ancient art. The theme of the waning power of magic contrasts with the raw physical danger posed by the dragon. I really like that part of the movie where you see the specter of Christianity kind of creeping in over the village and the villagers and stuff like that, and then just kind of how magic is dying out, which is kind of sad because when the magic is there, it's much more of a bigger, more entertaining world in my opinion. But yeah.
You know what these notes slightly remind me of with here's the themes. Remember honors English back in high school? That teacher, everything had a deep meaning, and the blue of the ocean represents it's because the ocean's fucking blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So we had Galen, played by Peter McNichol, and he actually did his own horse riding. Apparently, he had a lot of experience horse riding, and it's kind of cool because you can see him on the horse and not a stunt double. So that's kind of cool. Ulrich is played by Ralph Richardson. He's the wise sorcerer he's Galen's and his apprentice.
Too bad he was not around to do Gandalf. He would have been a badass Gandalf.
Yeah. And Vermithrax pejorative, amazing practical effects in this movie, just top notch. Princess Elspeth, and is Princess Elspeth played by Caitlin Clark? I thought it was the
no, it's not.
Valerian.
Valerian was played by, which notable characters. ChatGPT doesn't even list her.
I know that's not a very. All right, boo, ChatGPT, boo.
Yeah, but I think the great thing is not only was she a really good actress, but apparently she's fantastic at basketball. From what I saw,
she was hitting those threes from the outside,
just dunking them.
Yeah.
Boom, just one right after the other, just taking them down.
So you want to hit us with the critical consensus?
Yes, let me strike you with the consensus. Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an 84% score based on 37 reviews. That gives it an average of 6.8 out of 10. And the critical consensus of the site reads, an atypical dark Disney adventure, Dragonslayer puts a realistic spin and somewhat impressive special effects on a familiar tale. Metacritic, it's got a weighted score of 68 out of 100 based on 13 critics, indicating a generally favorable review. The book Flights of Fancy, the great fantasy film, says, Dragonslayer is a compelling and often brilliant fantasy film, but it seeks as well to impose modern sensibilities on its medieval characters and plot. 20th century political, sociological, and religious sensibilities which only serve to dilute its particular strengths.
I didn't feel that way.
I don't feel that way at all.
Yeah.
Because these are not new things, I think, that people are going through. That's like, you know, if you even think like now with the advent of modern dentistry, people still got little nubby ass teeth, right? This is something that we've been dealing with for a long time. Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert both gave the film 3 stars out of 4 in their respective print reviews. Siskel praised the dazzling special effects and the convincing portrait by Ralph Richardson of the aged magician Ulrich, and Ebert called the scenes involving the dragon first rate. Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times also called Vermithrax the greatest dragon yet and praised the film for its effective evocation of the dark arts. Kevin Thomas, also well known for his exceptionally large teeth. Dave Denby of the New York praised of New York. Good Lord. And I haven't even
New York what? New York Times?
New York. The New York what? And I was like,
just from New York.
I was like, have I been, what I have in my glass here? No. Praised Dragonslayer's special effects and lauded the film as being much better than Excalibur and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, better than Raiders of the Lost Ark?
No, not better than Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I think maybe, I don't know if it's better than Excalibur. It's still good.
It's still good.
Yeah, I think still good.
You all get a ribbon. You're all pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody gets their own thing.
Yeah, they're all 3 good movies. Just Raiders of the Lost Ark is way better than both those movies.
Although I personally feel Excalibur's teeth are a little bit nubbier than Dragonslayer's teeth.
Yeah.
Okay. That was your shut the fuck up, Neil. I recognize that sound. For those of you listening, also, Mrs. Eric knows that sound very well. David Starrett of the Christian Science Monitor praised the sets and pacing of the film, but criticized it for lack of originality, stressing that McNichol and Richardson's characters bore too many similarities to the heroes of Star Wars. A similar critique was given by John Coleman of the New Statesman, who called the film a turgid sword and sorcery fable. Turgid, filled to bursting. With Ralph Richardson in a backdated kind of Star Wars Alec Guinness role. Yeah, so weird that in medieval times and in an ancient order that you had an older person bringing along almost guild-like as it was done into the guild and teaching them before they became, as an apprentice, became a full master themselves. Fucking weird.
Well, and also they say it's about Star Wars. Well, Star Wars is the archetype of a hero's journey, or like Joseph Campbell's A Hero with 1,000 Faces. It's that person who, they start out one way, they leave their village, go on an adventure, and they can never come home again because they've changed and everything's different. It's just the archetype of a hero's adventure. So many stories are like that. I think it's not very, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't like that criticism.
You know what? Just for once, I want to see in a Dave Starrett review in the Christian Science Monitor to just start it off with, Jesus Christ. I think that'd be awesome. Okay, Tim Pauline of the Monthly Film Bulletin criticized the film's lack of narrative drive and clarity to supplement the special effects. Upon the film's first television broadcast, Gannett News Service columnist Mike Hughes called the story slight and slow-paced, but admired a lyrical beauty to the setting and mood. Nonetheless, he warned in the movie theaters that came across wonderfully on a little TV screen, this may be strictly for specialized tastes. Much like when he has, never mind, I was going to make a joke about make a joke about what he liked to do in Vegas, but we're not going to go there because that humor gets a little bit yellow. Okay, Alex Caneas of Newsday criticized the film on superstition and for being bereft of any sense of medieval time, place, and society. Larry DeTillo. Yeah, I know. I quit making faces at me. I didn't write it. He wrote it.
They can't see the faces I'm making.
They can't see the faces. Yeah. For the people at home, Eric has rolled his eyes. Yeah. All right. Anyway, Larry reviewed Dragonslayer for Different Worlds magazine and stated, much imagination went into the recreation of this world and fans will revel in it when they see it. I'm sorry. Bereft of any sense of medieval time, place, and society. Yeah, it's almost like, oh my God, a world where dragons existed, but we didn't do it. Shut up, dude.
They weren't accurate enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Christopher John reviewed Dragonslayer in Eris magazine and commented, though the dialogue is occasionally stiff, there is a believable reality. When the people and setting of a fantasy are as carefully wrought as they are here, it is easy to get an audience to accept as small and wonderful a thing as a dragon. Dirk Libby, what a fucking name. Dirk Libby of Cinema Blend described Dragonslayer tends to get overlooked even if you do remember it. There's a decent chance you had no idea it was technically a Disney movie, as it was a far cry from their normal output in the early 80s, and thus Disney name was largely left off the film. And this movie was my suggestion. I had no clue this was a Disney film until I watched it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You want to talk about Vermithrax pejorative a little bit?
Yeah.
Guillermo del Toro has stated that along with Maleficent and Sleeping Beauty, Vermithrax is his favorite cinematic dragon. He further stated that one of the best and one of the strongest landmarks of dragon movies is that almost nobody can overcome is Dragonslayer. The design of Vermithrax pejorative is perhaps one of the most perfect creature designs ever made.
So, and he knows, Guillermo del Toro knows a little bit about what he's talking about, you know?
Yes, he does. A Song of Ice and Fire author George R.R. Martin once ranked it the 5th best fantasy film of all time. And then also said that he was never going to finish that series because he was off busy doing other shit, so it had to get hacked to pieces by HBO in a rush in the final season. Oh, shit. Sorry. That was. They also went in to call the final season of Game of Thrones the small teeth of the season. They called Vermithrax the best dragon ever put on film, the coolest dragon name. Vermithrax is mentioned as an Easter egg in a list of dragons' names in the 4th episode of that book series adaptation, Game of Thrones. Fantasy author Alex Bledsoe stated, everyone has a first dragon, the one that awoke their sense of wonder about the creatures. Everyone's got their first. For many, it's Anne McCaffrey's elaborate world of Pern, where genetically engineered intelligent dragons bond with their riders. For others, it's Smaug in The Hobbit, guarding his hoard deep in a cave. But for me, it's the awesome Vermithrax from the 1981 film Dragonslayer.
I will agree with The Hobbit. I just remember the cool red looking dragon, kind of like a cat-like face and everything. That was pretty awesome. Yeah,
it was. It was weird too, because about that time was when I found Anne McCaffrey's books.
I don't think I've ever read any of her books.
So I had checked out a book of like fantasy stories, and inside it was a short story about this kid that, like, you know, apparently they have to go to like this big arena where the sand is really hot because it incubates the eggs. And then the dragons hatch and they choose these kids and bond with them. But some of them just walk over and just fucking maul them and kill them. So you don't know if you're going to if you're going to go dead, if you're going to be dead, if you're going to get a dragon, or if you're going to be disappointed because you never get to do it again. And it's about this kid getting his ass kicked. And then he hears this like voice in his mind, like, hey, what's your fucking problem? Why are you being like this? And he looks up and it's like one of the dragons can be like the biggest one of all time. And I thought, oh, that was really cool. And then when I returned it, the librarian was like, oh yeah, she wrote a whole bunch of these. You should check them out.
Nice.
So now that little bit of exposition was probably more than you needed, but now you have it.
Let's go back to the fantasy films of the 80s. I think the 80s was the best time for fantasy films. I mean, there's just so many, and like Dave's Never Ending Story, which we've done an episode on, Princess Bride, which we've done an episode on, Labyrinth, which we've done an episode on, The Dark Crystal, Willow, Legend. All have done episodes on those. We haven't done Highlander yet, so that's something we need to remedy.
My name is Juan Sanchez Ramirez Villalobos.
The Sword and the Sorcerer, which we've done an episode on. Krull, another episode.
Mm-hmm.
The Last Starfighter, another episode. Excalibur, Clash with the Titans. So we have covered fantasy movies of the 80s pretty well. And, we haven't done some of the more obscure ones like Hawk the Slayer and things like that. But those were like,
Dude, at some point we got to do the Barbarians.
Yeah, the Barbarian Brothers.
The Barbarians, we got to do that. So, yeah, I think the 80s was a great time for that. But I was thinking, like, right now, as you're talking about that, like, what do we have right now? We have, like, Blumhouse and then jacked up Studio A24 films.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting films from, like, different points of view. We're getting, instead of just white guys, you had everybody of every color and background making films now. Mm-hmm. So I think this, I'll be curious to look back at this in, 10 or 15 years to kind of see our thoughts on it. And then I realized that the 80s are not 10 or 15 years away. So discard what I just said. That was the baby teeth of off the cuff comments right there.
So
little tiny nubby teeth.
Years ago.
Fuck.
Yeah. The 80s were 40 years ago. Dragonslayer came out 44.
God, you're old.
Years ago. I am old.
You're old. But, at least I look good.
The movie itself, I mean, it's awesome. I really love the set design. When they go to visit Ulrich, and you see the group of people, and they get turned away, and they just decide they're going to stay out there, and everything, and just the way it is set up, and the clothing and the castles, everything is that kind of grungy kind of feel to it. It's more lived in, and therefore I think more realistic than like the pristine castles and stuff like that. I kind of enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah, well, it was great at one time, but as the magic declines, it's declining too. But one thing that always struck me is that if we're doing virgin sacrifices, right, and we know when it's coming up, start boning.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Galen could have taken care of Valerian's problem like that.
Yeah, just done.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it's like you're like a 17, 18-year-old dude walking around like, hey, don't want your daughter to get sacrificed? I can help you.
Mm-hmm. Done and done.
Yeah. And just looking around and like, look, I'll help her. She got nubby teeth. She's on her own. She's going to die. And I'll help her.
She's on the outs.
She's on the outs. Go flash those nubby teeth at the dragon and see what he thinks. You're going to fucking cook your ass.
Should not have mentioned that.
No, you should have. You should have.
Yeah. Virgin sacrifice, though.
Let's talk about the most important part of this movie.
Yes.
Okay. Jumping in the water and seeing a little bit of side boob.
Yeah. In a Disney PG Disney
movie. And this, as I'm thinking about this, because my mom would never have taken me to a movie like that, right? Mm-hmm. But I just remember being so like, as a kid, being so like, that was a naked butt, and I'm pretty sure I saw a little bit of boob on the side right there. Because
think about that.
It happens so quick though. There's no time for that mom reach to like put her hand, put her hand over your eyes to let you do it. I mean, maybe there's like a kid a couple rows down that's got like some fucking mutant nubby teeth that took a hot one in the mouth when she missed.
All right, that horse is beat dead.
But is it though? I don't think so.
The part reminds me of all the other PG nudity that we were privy to in that time. Remember Clash of the Titans when the princess has she's getting her bath before she gets sacrificed to the Kraken?
Yep.
You saw her Kraken.
Yeah, what's Kraken?
And then Beastmaster, Tanya Roberts. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the
Yep. That was when you had to adjust the tracking on the VCR when you hit pause. That was a moment right there.
Yeah. So as a young kids, we were like, what? Before PG-13.
Yep.
You could maybe see some boobs in a PG movie. Even if it was just a flash of side boob.
Just a little bit, or some bare butt.
But Valerian wasn't fooling anybody. As soon as you see her, you're like, that's a girl. Immediately. Not fooling anybody.
Nope.
Yeah.
I love the line you got right here. Valerian shows she's a girl, and right after that, meet the king. I use that when I introduce myself.
The king was pretty interesting. I liked the daughter of the king, and she wanted to be fair. She felt bad that she had been an exception of the lottery. And one thing that came way out of left field is that she gets eaten by baby dragons, and they don't talk about her ever again.
Yeah, that one gets her foot off completely.
Yeah, exactly. He is munching on her leg.
That princess did not have a leg to stand on.
No, she did not.
No, they went nothing. Okay,
she had a foot in the grave.
That's right. They went straight for the feet.
She was going to go work at IHOP.
They saw those nubby ass teeth, and they're like, I've got a foot fetish all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And they went right for that.
She survived. She'd be named Eileen. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So was I the only one when I watched this and wondered why the king was Amish? I can't see a beard like that.
Yeah.
And I wonder, you be careful out there among the English.
Interesting. And Ian McDiarmid sighting.
You know, the great thing about insulting an Amish person on here is they'll never hear it.
They'll never hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be great. Yeah. Not even Emperor Palpatine could stop Vermithrax.
I thought it, and maybe it's just me. I thought, well, maybe it was commentary that he was the Christian missionary, and then he got burnt up. Pretty easily burnt up. Yeah. I did like Vermithrax burning up the villages. That was pretty damn cool.
Hauling ass. You know what I really liked is that the cut that I'm pretty sure that we both rented was, you know how when in special effects in the original Star Wars before they fucked it up, when the TIE fighters were coming in attacking the Millennium Falcon, when they got out,
you could kind of see the plate, the outlines.
Yeah, you see the plate, and you could see that as they were doing it, like when he's on the mountain at the end, right? And Vermithrax is coming in, you could see the plate on him then, and you could see where they superimposed him into it, and it was just like how they put the thing together. And I mean, obviously, I don't think that was on there when we saw it. I just don't think that the film, by the time they took it off the film, it aged that well. Yeah. So badass.
And that's something that it looks amazing. I don't mind it at all. I think it's a feature, not a bug to me. I love to see some of the seams when it comes to the special effects in the 80s and stuff. I love that. But right now we're watching these movies in 4K, and they were not originally, they were put out on 24 frames per second, 35 millimeter. And so we're used to seeing that kind of graininess and not as focused. But when you're watching watching it in streaming or renting it, it is 4K, so you see a lot of stuff way clearer. The seams are easier to see, but I enjoy them.
Well, 4K is a lot like having veneers, right? And then when you see the original, it's a lot like maybe the teeth are just a little bit too nubby. We got 7 more minutes of this. So.
So I did like the way Tyrion, which is the first name every time I ever heard Tyrion, I guess, or didn't realize that name was used before, Tyrion.
And not a Lannister.
Not a Lannister. It didn't send his regards. The way he was loyal to the kingdom, but not necessarily the king. And he wanted to keep things going and sacrifice the virgin for the sake of the village and the kingdom, but didn't really care about the king and his daughter as much. And that was kind of an interesting twist on his character, make it a little more complex. And he's, killing people. He stabs the Ulrich at the beginning, and then he kills poor Hodges with a bow. And, then he's kind of the menace, but he's kind of a little more complex than what you would give him credit for.
And that actor was in, he's been in a couple other fantasy movies.
Yeah, he definitely was like a fantasy actor. Let's look what his name is. John Hallam. And he had died when he was in 2006. He was in...
Which is weird because he looked old as hell in those movies.
He was a Baron in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Mandera and Kull the Conqueror. He was in The Wicker Man. He was
Wasn't he in
Flash Gordon. Wasn't he one of the Hawkmen's
yes,
lieutenants?
Yes. Now I remember that, which is funny because I have one of those like hyper realistic Prince Voltan figures on my desk at work.
Mm-hmm.
And people always come back and like, who's the hairy guy in his underwear with wings? Like, then you obviously are someone I can never talk to.
Do you just look at him and say, dive?
You know, normally what I do is I look over at him and I look him up and down. And I look at him. I go, yep. Nubby teeth.
So he was in Flash Gordon, Dragonslayer, Ivanhoe, Santa Claus the movie, and Life Force. But yeah, the entire setup is good, and you know the way they forged the lance and made it stronger was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that the dragon scale shield was sick as hell. I thought that was really cool. Worked really well. I always thought his head he was always peeking up a little too much for my
a little bit too high, but
we got his hair singed off.
In the end, we got a giant pile of dragon guts.
Yeah.
Now it did have a little bit of like, you know, hey, he waited till he was up in the air to explode.
Mm-hmm.
Culturally insensitive. But still.
Culturally insensitive, huh?
Yeah. as soon as it was in flight, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The destroying the amulet, that part was cool. I felt like Valerian was a little too keen to destroy the amulet. She was a little, you know, like, give it a second. He said I would know. Put the rock down. Chill out.
Trying to tell him what to do. Trying to run his life. It's oh my god. It's
we
like
just met.
It's the Van Damme reporter.
Yeah. I always
like you can't tell me what to do because technically we could still sacrifice you if you know what I'm saying. So until that happens, no.
Yeah. I still love that in Bloodsport where, you know, she sleeps with Frank one night and then the next day she's like, "What are we? Don't do that."
Frank Dukes, like put up your dukes.
Shidoshi. Yeah, but
what a way to end it.
But yeah, dragon blows up. King takes credit. There's guts all over the place. Galen and Valerian ride off together, and it's over. And that was the end of the movie. But if you like good practical special effects, check it out. It's really, really good if you have not seen it before. It's maybe a little leisurely paced compared to what we're used to now, but I think it's worth it if you have the patience to kind of sit through, like you said earlier, kind of a slow burn of the movie. You know, that's.
I think normally I would have lost patience, but it was just fun to look at, and you're just waiting because you knew when you saw the dragon, like when he comes up in his back and stuff is kind of moving around and bumping on it. Like I lost my shit when I was a kid when I saw that. The big, and I love that it wasn't. He was big, but he wasn't like, you know, this like massive creature. Like you still believed he could actually get airborne because, you know, that foot's coming down. He's big, but he's not huge. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of physically in the possibility that he could fly, and and it was good. I mean, like it was like watching it the first time because I barely remember seeing it as a kid, but it hit all the points that I wanted to see in a dragon movie from the 80s. And especially when, you know, consider who's involved in the artistry of the special effects and just the way everything looked. I thought it was a good movie. Good movie.
Yes. And it really is everything you want to see. Not one nubby tooth.
Maiden. The Nubby Tooth Maidens. That'd be a good name for
no Nubby Tooth Maidens.
So, yes. But next week, we are going to talk about Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
So I can actually get my wife involved on watching that because she enjoys those.
We can wrap up the Lord of the Rings series by watching that one. And
got to do the
that one is on Max all the time. The Return of the King is on just like you could just throw, flip the channel and it's odds are that the Return of the King is on. And I like it. Yeah, I have some issues with it, but I'm looking forward to talking about it. And yeah, so check it out. If you want to send us an email, rvspodcast222@gmail.com. Tell us how wrong we are about the horny fairy books and horny dragons. Let us know about that.
Leave me out of that. I've not looked at any of that. I would like to know everyone's opinion on tiny teeth, though.
Yes.
Yeah, little tiny ones.
Tiny teeth time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know about.
That sounds like that sounds like a fucked up kid show from Europe. Tiny teeth time.
It's tiny teeth time.
You could never do that again, and I'd be okay with it.
There's if you want to donate to the cause, go to buymeacoffee.com, look up the Retro Video Store, help pay for the posting of the podcast every week. We are on Blue Sky. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We're out there. So there's ways to contact us.
We're not on Threads.
Not on Threads.
Not on Threads.
Not on the X.
Not on the X.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. We saw that train coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Fun times.
But thanks so much for listening. It was we appreciate you. And if you want to send us an email, we will mention you if you send us comments. So
this is true. And if not, I could just make up shit. Just say like some dude named Bob said some things. Anyway, everybody have a good week, even if you have freakishly small teeth.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store podcast.